This is Tony. Hello, Tony. You are up first, sir.
Hi, Bart. How are you?
Doing well, Tony. Doing well. The last time I saw Tony was at the Encore. What was that, a few weeks ago or something?
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Tony and I had dinner, and, I decided to splurge at the steakhouse there and order some certified Japanese Wagyu beef where there's only, I don't know, a couple dozen places in the country. And the only place in New England was the Encore that has it. And man, Tony, I got to tell you, I was kind of disappointed. You had a bite too, right?
I did. It's the first time I've ever felt like I've had a bite of food on a fork that looked like $30. Because it was like every slice of that was uh, was special. But yeah, I had a bite of it, and I think at the time we both were kind of thinking, well, it's good.
I think where I went wrong was I asked the waiter what kind of cut that he recommended. I was expecting him to say, ribeye, and he said tenderloin. And I got like an extra couple ounces. It was like 400 or 500 bucks or something crazy. And I've splurged like that on dinners before, but I've never been disappointed. But I was disappointed by that one. I won't do that one again, or I'll definitely get a different cut. But it's nice in there at the Encore. Tony and I played a little 2-5, then to 5-10. And we played a little video poker too afterwards, which is always fun, which means I got a bunch of comps when I can bring my wife there for Christmas time. The setup at the Encore is weird because the 5-10 game's like a 1,500 cap and the 2-5's a 1,000 cap. And I ended up moving from the 2-5 game with a $3,200 stack to cap down to 1,500. The game was actually pretty decent, but then you played the next day and it wasn't really that good. You got a hand for us, Tony?
I do.
All right.
This is at Wynn Las Vegas.
Ah, okay. So the win in Las Vegas, which is actually at the Encore, right? Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So what's the game size here?
2-5,
All
and
right.
it's
So two.
nine-handed.
This is a 1,500 cap or something?
1,500 cap. That's right.
Okay. So 1,500 cap, nine-handed. Okay. Yep.
All right. There are two main villains in this hand. The button has, excuse me, yes, the button has 1,500
Okay.
effective, and the big blind has 750.
All right. So big blind has 715. You cover.
I cover them both.
Okay. Hero covers. Okay.
Okay, so I'm in the cutoff, and
Okay.
I open to $20 with the 10 of clubs and the 7 of clubs.
So hero opens 10 of clubs, 7 of clubs in the cutoff. Probably the bare bottom, right, of your opening range here. I take it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say so. It's a fun hand to play late. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily open it any earlier, but cut off her button.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so you open 10, 7 of clubs. Okay.
Yeah, the button calls.
Okay.
The button plays about 9 out of 10 hands,
Okay.
so
Good
not too
info.
surprising.
Yep,
Yeah.
good info.
The big blind is backpack headphones rag. He also called.
All right, so big blind calls, just two blinds, and we go to the flop here. Standard open to 20, so it's like probably 55 after the rake, right?
Hmm.
Something like that. Okay.
Yep. The flop is 6 of diamonds, 7 of spades, 10 of spades.
So 10 of spades, 7 of spades, 6 of diamonds, and you flop top two.
Right.
Okay.
That's right. And the big blind donks out $20.
Ah, donk lead. Donk leads for 20. Okay.
I raise to 100.
Hero raises to 100. Okay.
The button cold calls my raise,
Wow. Okay.
and the big blind calls.
So interesting street here. So big blind donks for 20. Hero with top two raises to 5x, which is basically about pot. You get a cold call here from this wide V pipping button, who you said is playing like 90% of hands, and the big blind calls. I have a couple questions for you, Tony. Number one, would you raise an overpair here too versus a donk lead?
I think so, particularly because the donk size is 1/3. It'd be different if he was donking out pot or something closer to that. I think
Hmm.
smaller donks are typically either top pair weak kicker or a draw. So I would probably raise there.
Right. Cause it's kind of interesting, right? Because you block some of the top pair, you block some of the two pair. I tend to agree with you that this is usually going to be some sort of flush draw. I mean, I guess it could be pair plus straight draw. I guess you don't really know that much about the button. Sounds to me like he might just call with like any 10, or is he that wide? Jack 8 suited,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I still think you have the best hand, but I would try. I mean, definitely things can change here quite a bit.
Hmm.
All right, so we put in so it's like 355 to the turn, right?
That's right.
Okay.
The turn is the Jack of Hearts.
All right, so the Jack of Hearts here on the turn. Now, what does that change? It doesn't change a whole lot besides the fact. I mean, obviously 8-9 is still a straight. I mean, the only thing it changes is that you lose to some jacks up here, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
When the card came out, I thought it probably wasn't great, but isn't terrible either. And it was just kind of one of those cards. I was like, well, all right.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, the logical hand that you'd be behind to would be like a Jack 10 here, something like that. Okay. Now, what does the big blind do?
So the big blind overbet jams all in
Wow.
for 630-ish into 355.
Wow. So he moves all in for 630. You've got this guy behind you.
Right.
I mean, I can't. Well, I mean, especially with the guy being so wide behind you, you kind of. It's not like a normal player. So, I mean, obviously, heads up, you would call, right, without a question,
Right.
right?
That's right. So while I'm getting I asked for count, and while we're getting a count, the button is cutting out calling chips to the dollar.
Okay. So you think that he's really going to call here?
Yes.
I mean, what do you think the big blind has here?
Well, I mean, it's so strong, right? I mean, the big blind calling and then overbet shoving into two people didn't feel great at all. Um, you know,
And now too, the other thing too is that it's like I don't even know if you have the option to call here because if you call the pot's like 15, you would have already put in like half your stack, and then if the other guy calls behind, I mean, it seems like you pretty much kind of have to deny equity here because I mean you can't call and then fold. I don't think. I mean, it just seems kind of nuts. I think the big blind could have like some Jack X of spades here types of holdings. I mean, that's kind of what makes sense. It just seems a little bit odd to donk Jack 10 and then call and then donk the turn. I mean, I guess it's possible, but wow, this is a really, really sticky spot here because you're getting about 1.5 to 1. You got to deal with the guy behind you, and there's so many sort of nut changing cards. But the fact that this guy behind you is so wide, if your equity here against like Jack X of spades with one card to come probably isn't even that high. I mean, it might be like 65%, something like that. I bet you it has a boatload of equity. And then you've got this guy behind you here too, who I guess could be slow playing something. I might fold here, man. It's really, really close.
well, and the question I had was, if would 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 a raise to build a side pot, like if I was convinced that the button was drawing, would a raise be an overplay here or not?
No, I mean, if I'm doing the math right, I think it's kind of like a razor full. I mean, so the pot's like almost 1,000. If you call, it will be like 1,600. You only have like 800 left in your stack, right? So the guy behind you is gonna be getting some sort of crazy price, and then what are you gonna do on rivers? Like you only, I mean, it
Yeah.
just seems kind of. I mean, I think that it's really kind of an awkward stack, but I think probably if you want to go with it, you would jam. I think you would. I think you'd want to jam, but it's very, very close. I don't really see the case for calling here with these stack sizes.
Yeah, yeah. And I really was just much more concerned about the big blind. I mean, just I don't know. It's just everything. All of his actions seem pretty strong. I
Hmm.
don't see too many regs trying to blast two people off of their hands,
Yeah,
and he's got to know I've got something.
yeah. If you disregard the guy behind you, I could go either way with it because you obviously have the equity against Jack X of spades here, right? And then you might get extra money in if the guy's putting it in bad behind you. I wouldn't lose sleep over it. I think it's very close. Usually I don't have trouble giving my opinion on a spot, but I think I can kind of go either way with it.
Okay.
Yeah. What did you end up
Well,
doing?
well, I ended up folding.
Okay. Yeah.
The button snap called, and
Okay.
then as he's calling, he leans over to me and says, "If you would have called, I would have folded," which of course is a
Oh,
great
that's not
thing.
good.
Yeah, it's great to hear that.
Yeah.
So the river was the deuce of hearts. The
Okay.
big blind says that he missed, and the button shows Jack 8 offsuit.
Oh God.
So the button cold called my flop raise with a gut shot and turned top pair.
So probably, I mean, really, what the big blind should have here would be like queen nine of spades, king queen of spades, queen eight of spades, some sort of massive, massive combo draw, right? Some sort of massive combo draw, and then you get this guy, this idiot behind here. Yeah, that's the other thing too. You know, you wonder with this guy. I mean, it was kind of like your read of he was sort of going to call, but if he wasn't behind you, you would have called, right?
Yes. Yeah. No doubt about it.
So you kind of go back and forth with like normally against a normal player, when you think someone's going to call behind you after this action, then you just want to get out right away, right? But if you're dealing with somebody who's so bad, it kind of mucks things up a little bit, right? With pot odds and what they're
Yep.
doing behind you.
Absolutely. It's just, it's a shit spot being stuck in the middle,
Yeah.
in a situation like that.
Josh Shepard says that's the oldest trick in the book, cutting out calling raising chips to make you fold. Well,
Well, I had some history with the player, at least enough to know that, he's not angling me by any stretch. I do think he was going to call, and he did obviously call, but um, I don't think he was trying to induce a fold. I think he was
right.
just ready to go and figured
Did,
the guy was full of shit or
did you have to
drawn or
walk
something.
that one off?
I did. I played for another 30 minutes and my head was such a mess. I just got up and left.
By the way, so I asked everyone over on on Discord this morning. I wanted to make a glossary of different terms that were invented by Crush Live Poker, so we can sort of get a reference over in Discord. And people gave me some great ones, but walk that one off. There's one right that I haven't seen, and I'm definitely going to keep that one for COP. Walk that one off, along with Fifth Street Chicken, variable turn sizing, attacking limp pots, combo bet, delayed double barrel, chip spiking, etc., etc. Thank you very much for the call, Tony. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bart. A pleasure. Talk to
All
you again
right.
soon.
Thanks for calling in.